Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the people who shape your daily life aren't politicians, celebrities, or CEOs. They're not the billionaires you see on magazine covers, and they're not even the companies you interact with every day. In reality, the deepest influence comes from a hidden network of financial entities that rarely appear in public, operate without voters, and control trillions of dollars behind closed doors. These players are hedge funds, and over the past 40 years, they've quietly positioned themselves at the center of American life. They influence where you live, what you buy, how companies behave, and even what information reaches you. Their takeover didn't happen loudly, it happened silently, strategically, and most people still have no idea it even occurred. To understand their influence, it helps to know what a hedge fund actually is. Think of it as an exclusive financial laboratory for the ultra-rich, a place where wealthy investors pool their money and hand it to managers who are allowed to do almost anything to make that money grow. Unlike traditional investment funds, hedge funds can bet on markets rising or collapsing, borrow enormous sums of money to amplify returns, buy entire companies outright, move billions across borders in seconds, and operate with very little public disclosure. They are fast, aggressive, flexible, and because they face fewer restrictions, they can take risks that regular investors never could. This freedom is what makes them powerful and what makes them dangerous. Hedge funds started quietly in the 1,950 seconds, but they were tiny and barely noticeable. Then came the 1,980 seconds. Deregulation swept across Wall Street. Borrowing became cheaper. Financial engineering exploded. And suddenly hedge funds had room to grow. But the moment that truly changed everything came in 2008. While the country faced its worst financial crisis in generations, hedge funds saw opportunity. As banks collapsed and millions of Americans struggled, hedge funds had something no one else did: flexibility, cash, and the ability to move quickly. They bought assets for pennies on the dollar, they bet against failing companies, and they quietly expanded their influence on a historic scale. 2008 wasn't just a crash. It was the ignition switch for a quiet financial takeover. Housing was the first battlefield. After the crisis, millions of families lost their homes, and foreclosure signs covered entire neighborhoods. And while everyday Americans were trying to stay afloat, hedge funds arrived with huge piles of cash. They purchased entire neighborhoods, thousands of single-family homes, and bulk properties at auction. Some firms became the biggest landlords in America almost overnight. This transformed housing from a basic necessity into a financial investment strategy. The results were dramatic. Home ownership declined, rents surged, starter homes became rare, and families suddenly found themselves competing not with other buyers, but with billion-dollar corporations. The American home, once a symbol of stability, had quietly become part of Wall Street's portfolio. But hedge funds didn't stop at houses. Using private equity-style strategies, hedge funds and similar firms bought companies across nearly every sector: retail, grocery chains, manufacturing, technology, healthcare, and more. The strategy was simple: buy the company with borrowed money, cut costs aggressively, raise prices where possible, and then sell or restructure the company for profit. This approach reshaped entire industries. Iconic brands that once felt permanent disappeared almost overnight. Local businesses couldn't compete with firms optimized strictly for profit extraction. Today, hedge fund money influences everything from the food people buy, to the phones in their pockets, to the medications in their cabinets. So what does all of this mean for everyday people? Over time, the hedge fund model contributed to higher rent, higher prices for basic goods, higher medical bills, lower wages, fewer small businesses, and more economic fragility. Power concentrated into fewer and fewer hands and not in the hands of elected leaders. But in financial entities most people have never seen or heard of. Can hedge funds be stopped? Probably not entirely. Their influence is now deeply woven into the American economy. But transparency, oversight, and public awareness can shift the balance. Because the first step to protecting an economy is understanding who truly shapes it. This story isn't about fear, it's about awareness. When people understand the hidden systems that affect their daily lives, they can demand better laws, better protections, and a more balanced financial future. If you want more deep dives into money mysteries, financial history, and the forces shaping the modern world, make sure you subscribe for more.